The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is probably the most complex structure in our bodies, and the one that's been the most elusive for biotech in thinking about therapies, and that's the human brain. As much as we think we understand it, we don't. And in fact, this illustration will show you one of the diseases that we're having the hardest time finding new drugs for. On the left, you see what's a normal human brain. This now imaging is using what's called positron emission tomography, or PET scans. Essentially, what PET scans tell us is how much energy is being used in the tissue. And this is showing us energy usage in a normal brain on the left. On the right is a brain seriously afflicted with Alzheimer's disease. And you can see that it's just not using energy the way a normal young brain is using it. There is normal aging, and then there is this. And it has been one of the most elusive targets for drug therapies over the last 20 or 30 years. Or maybe you guys will figure this out and find a drug for Alzheimer's. And how do we search for those drugs? Well, we do the imaging I showed you before at the cellular level. These are individual neurons imaged with fluorescent microscopy. We can target those neurons and figure out, hey, can we modify the neuronal behavior? Can we modify neuronal structure? Will that tell us something? But telling us what we do to nerve tissue doesn't tell us what's going to happen into a brain. So we use a brain like this as a model. This is a brain that's amazingly complex and amazingly useful to researchers. Yet the animal it resides in, you wouldn't be able to see him if I held him up. That's a fruit fly brain. And we can actually treat fruit flies with drugs and look and see the effects it has on the fruit fly brain. And in fact, one of the areas we're making advances on is in the area of learning disability and mental retardation. Particularly mental retardation caused genetically. The most common genetic cause of mental retardation is a syndrome called Fragile X. You're missing a particular protein. You can actually modify fruit flies genetically and make fruit flies that suffer from Fragile X. How does a fruit fly demonstrate learning disabilities? It can't learn normal fruit fly behavior, and it doesn't do normal fruit fly behavior. Yet some drugs, particularly those that attack what's called the mGlu-R5 receptor, actually modify that behavior in the fruit fly. You can actually treat learning disabilities with a drug in a fruit fly, and there are several companies that now have drugs in this class in human beings. If you had told me 20 years ago we could come up with a drug that could modify a genetically caused form of learning disability, not keeping us up all night to study, for example, that doesn't count, but actually modifying the dysfunction of learning, I would have thought you were crazy, but it's been done, and it's being done, and again, hopefully you guys will be parts of the teams that bring something like that to patients.